As a coach, I see a lot of consistencies of the challenges that clients face, that we face too. We don't, I've got a coach. We all should have coaches. Leadership, time management, goal setting. And leadership, you don't have to be the head of a big company to have struggles with leadership. Even from people trying to build their own businesses as solopreneurs, they're struggling with leadership issues. So I want to talk a little bit about me and how I see those challenges with me and why it's not unusual that they're so common. Has anybody here ever taken the Myers-Briggs test? All right. So you all know your four-letter acronym. I'm an ISTJ. ISTJ is, it's called the inspector. Some people call it the logistician. I was an applied math major. I was a computer science major. I wasn't very good with people. I was certainly really good with math and computers. Introvert, sensing, thinking, judging, and along the way, I want to read you some of the traits, some of the negative traits of an ISTJ. Stubborn, insensitive, by the book, and judgmental. Now, if I could let that label determine what it is I let myself do, then I would still be, in front of a computer writing software all day. Not that that's a bad thing. Actually, it's a very good thing, and it's a really profitable thing right now. I would have never become CEO of a public company, and so my path there has been of discovering why people are so important and how I can get good at being good with people. I wrote a talk not too long ago called 8 Lessons from 8 Companies. I talk about the 8 startups I've been part of, and I tell a story from each one, and I create a lesson from each one. And I'm not going to talk about any of these lessons. You'll have to go hear that talk elsewhere, which is free, by the way. I do that talk free everywhere. But when I wrote the lessons I learned in each of the companies, every single one of them is about people. It wasn't about finance. It wasn't about business development. It wasn't about operations, or certainly not about technology. Everything I learned was about people, and in part maybe because I was an ISTJ and I had the most to learn in that area. But when I hear leaders say that they're struggling with leadership, that they're not confident in their leadership, you're going through that same journey. One of the things, so at CD Now, that was the company where I had the opportunity to go from CTO to COO to CEO. I started as CTO, I got the technology. Look, e-commerce technology is not rocket science. By the way, I started my career in rocket science, but we won't go there. But it's not rocket science, and what I had to do was build the team and motivate the team to just try things that hadn't been done before. And then when I realized that I was getting good at leadership, when they said, oh, we're struggling with customer service, it's like, I could do that too. And then I was product management, and eventually to the point where I was operating much of the company, and then eventually to the point where they named me CEO and the CEO left. What I began to do is judge my own successes through the successes of others, and that was the big transition that ultimately I needed to make. We talked about this earlier with Sean, right? What are some of the jobs of the CEO? Communicate, build the team and the followers. Build a team and get people to followers, right? And followers feels like a kind of a bad word, but if you're a leader, by definition, it's because you have followers. How you get people to follow determines the type of leader you are. You need to be a visionary. You need to inspire people to do lofty things. And you are the outside face and voice of the company. So you're the one who people think about when they think about that company. So one of the things that I had to learn to get good at, right, being judgmental, the Myers-Briggs is based upon Jungian psychology, right? So these are all about preferences. So I don't want to label myself as being judgmental, but I'll say I have a proclivity, a preference for being judgmental. So how do I overcome that? How do I contradict that? and control that, and that's through positivity. And Sean and I didn't get a chance to talk about his values, but one of their company values is positivity. And so what are things that I can do to become more positive, right? How do I get to enjoy people? And I learned a whole bunch of tools and tricks to do that, right? First is positive feedback, right? How do you give positive feedback? And some coach educated me on this program called 10 coins. You put 10 coins in one pocket in the morning, and every time you give someone positive feedback, you move the coin to the other pocket, so by the end of the day, all 10 coins need to be in the other pocket. And look, all right, I'm an ISTJ, so giving me a tool like that, giving me a strategy to deploy a tool to support it is the way I work and think. So I developed a tool for that. Amazing customers. Another consultant taught me, I want you every day to amaze, and this is not amaze, everyone in the company. Every day, each of you has to amaze one customer. That's pretty cool. Right? So if you wake up every morning, maybe Lisa put a Post-it note on your mirror saying, who am I going to amaze today? And pick someone and do something amazing for them. Before I move on to that next subject, the big part of the ISTJ is I'm an introvert. Now, an introvert is not necessarily someone who's shy. We all know that if you study Myers-Briggs, that what you're good at gives you energy, what you struggle with, what you're not necessarily natural with, draws energy from you. So all you need to do, think like a scientist and develop strategies for how do I account for my energy, or if you're not a scientist, if you're a finance person, think about it as a bank account, right? How do I look at my balance in my bank account and make sure that I got enough deposits to compensate for all the withdrawals I'm going to make? I remember the first talk I ever had to do, there was in public when I became CEO of CD Now, was for 1,000 people, including a lot of our critics, Wall Street investors, analysts rather, who didn't think we should be in business. Now in hindsight, maybe they were right, but like I said, we were losing $65 million a year when I took over. But how do you get ready for something like that? I had to develop a system for myself to know that I can get in front of 1,000 people and talk to them. So leadership is something that, like anything else, put together a goal and create a plan to go meet that goal. Same thing is true with this other subject that we're talking about, right? Time management. Which is also work-life balance, which is also prioritization, which is also decision-making. All of these are elements of the same struggle that a lot of you face, a lot of us face. We struggle with how to make sure we have the time to do the things that are important. But what are the things that are important? How do I decide what's most important? How do I decide which path to go down? The fact is that a lot of you, 60% of entrepreneurs, based on one study, have ADHD. I've never been formally diagnosed, but my daughter is, and having gone through her diagnosis, I can self-diagnose. So I had the opportunity to sit through a breakfast with Peter Shankman. Were you there, Lauren, for that breakfast with Peter Shankman?
Yeah.
And I quoted him for years on something that I heard he said, but I didn't know he said it until I met him and I found out he was the one who said it, so now I can say his name. He said, he was at a conference and he said, I don't have ADHD, I have ADOS, attention deficit, ooh, shiny. He does it a lot better. He's got a great podcast, by the way. It is, what's the name of it? Faster Than Normal, right? Because he believes that ADHD isn't a deficit. If I learn how to harness it, it's a positive. And again, he approached his ADHD strategically, right? This is what it is, right? Just like my ISTJ, right? This is what it is. So how can I harness it and use it for good, or how can I build tools and strategies around it so that it doesn't get in my way of my success? So there are great tools for time management, and if any of you here who have ever worked with me, know that I've showed you some of these tools, right? Stephen Covey has, if you've ever read Stephen Covey, it's a classic, And the principles in it are fairly straightforward, but they're fairly powerful. And one of the things he says in his time management piece is the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. I've got that pasted on my wall, because if somebody is who is easily distracted, I have to keep reminding myself what's the main thing. There are tools. So he does this grid. I'm not going to go through this really here. Urgent, not urgent, important, not important. Number one is quadrant one is the crisis quadrant, right? It's where you probably spend a lot of your time. Might be an interesting exercise for you to go take your calendar one day and map what you do into these quadrants, right? So number one, crisis. Number two is strategy. Right? This is where I work on my business from the outside in. This is where I think about things strategically. This is where I take my thinking time. And often, if you're not investing in quadrant two, you end up in quadrant one that much more often. Right? That's the principle behind what Stephen Covey is trying to teach you here. And it is an exercise I do with clients. It's an exercise I do with myself. Take your week, put it in here, and figure out, are you spending 60% of your time in quadrant two? Because that's where you should be. If you're playing solitaire, that's quadrant four, by the way. Unless you're using it to decompress, which is that quadrant three. Other tools, a coach recently taught me 5 daily goals. He says, I've got a book. Every morning I write 5 things I want to accomplish today, and when I'm finished those 5 things, I'm done. If I finish them by noon, I go to the beach or I go play golf. If it takes me till midnight, it takes me till midnight. But 5 goals every day. He said, it doesn't matter whether it's the right 5 things. The fact that I'm doing 5 things every day, and I'm accomplishing them, and I'm checking them off a list, is something that means I'm making progress. Right? I'd rather do 5 goals than think about 20. Time blocking, just to make appointments with yourself. Bill, right? Time block. We're going to do some thinking time, and we're going to put it on our calendar, and that's what we're going to do. Business development. If you're an entrepreneur who says, I'm spending too much time with my clients, not enough time building business. Why don't you block off some time on your calendar and make sure you're doing that stuff? There's another one that I learned of recently called the Pomodoro Method. It has absolutely nothing to do with tomatoes, though. I was thinking about food. The Pomodoro Method is something to the effect of, I haven't read the book, but it's
25 minutes.
25 minutes. Break up your work into 25-minute chunks and then take a break and then go do the next 25-minute set of chunks. 5-minute break. Okay, so 25-5, 25-5. So ultimately, what I'm trying to do in this conversation, and I'm going to shorten this, but what I'm trying to do is say that everything that we can do, whether it's building a business plan or developing ourselves as leaders, is driven by a top-down approach. Why am I doing this? My vision. What is it going to look like, right? And what is it going to look like over the next 3 years, let's say? So let's say vision is 10 years. Mission, 3 years. Then goals. What do I need to achieve to meet that mission? Strategies. So in other terms, Tab calls them critical success factors. What do I need to get good at? So one of my critical success factors this year for Trajectify, as I mentioned earlier, was how do I build a repeatable process for customer acquisition? We were meeting our revenue targets, but not in a way that could grow the business in the way that I wanted into the future, because we didn't have a repeatable customer acquisition process. So that was one of my critical success factors. It's not measurable, right? My numbers are measurable. My goals are all measurable, right? And Lisa talked about SMART goals. My goals are measurable, but the fact is that my critical success factors aren't. They're ideas, they're concepts that I need to master. But then those turn into tactics. How am I actually going to execute it? And those turn into action plans then. Who does what? I'm going to show you a real quick example of it from CD Now. We were a big company at this point. We're about 150 million in revenue, 500 employees. Our goals, this was I think 2001. We had 5 sets of company goals, and I broke one of them out for your revenue growth. And you can see that that was the measurable goal, world retail product revenue to $160 million, and then we had a few strategies under it, right? Increase average order size, increase frequency of orders, added customers, etc. We then went top down with those goals for every department of the company, for everyone in the company. Ultimately, we ended up with an action plan. So each department had goals, each person had goals, and we created an action plan. We knew what every department was doing every quarter, and perhaps even every month, in order for us to meet those goals. A couple great things happen when you think this way. Is one, you know you've got a plan. You know here's what it takes to meet the goals. Are there lots of assumptions in there? Yes. There are assumptions in there that we got wrong. We're going to miss some execution. There's going to be some outside influences that throw us off our path. But if we don't write it down, we can't measure it. We don't know why we didn't succeed. So it doesn't matter what stage you are, writing it down is something that you can go back to and learn from. The other elements of this is everybody knows why they're important. When you've got more than one person in your company, why am I here? How do I help? If you're someone sitting in customer service, why does it matter that I do what I do? And if you've got the goals and the success of your business written down from the top down, you can trace your path all the way up to the top and know every time I answer the phone, every time I decide to amaze a customer, my department achieves this metric and the company achieves that metric. So, what I just intended to show here was the fact that structure at any size business, whether it's a 500 person, $150 million business like CD Now, or whether it's an idea that you're first getting started, approach it from the top down, put it in writing, have a plan. That's going to help you overcome the challenges that you perceive that you face, right? Because now you're following a plan. Go back to what Jordan Zimmerman said, right? My goal is you use these tools. These tools are proven. You use them to conquer those fears, to realize that those fears are just emotion, and what I need to be focusing on is my dreams, my goals, not those fears. I've always done it by surrounding myself with really good people, whether it's CD Now or Intranet or even here, the picture I keep throwing out there, even though the people are sitting right below the picture. I just had to put something on the slide. I should have put a hashtag or a Twitter handle. But the fact is, it is ultimately about people, and that's one of the things that even I, as an ISTJ, as the geeky engineer in 1981, who was in love with his 5.25-inch floppy disks, even I can appreciate that I can appreciate today being that person, but having come to where I am, that it is ultimately around the people. And I know Chuck and Lauren and others today have really tried to pull that together for you. So that being said, look, you guys, I really thank you for having given us this chance to work with you. This is something, like I said, is out of our comfort zone. We've never tried before. We are thrilled for the opportunity to have done it for you and with you, and we look forward to opportunities to do more work with you.